what if the absolute highest form of freedom isn't actually about escaping the rules, but about like returning completely to your original nature?
Yeah.
And here's the twist that genuinely threw me when I was reading this. What if truly achieving that ultimate level of freedom means you are actually no longer human at all?
It's a huge concept.
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We are bringing you, the listener, right to the table with us today to explore this wildly provocative, just profoundly unexpected 2019 essay.
Yeah, we're glad you're sitting here with us for this one.
For sure. So it's by an author named Shuefeng,
Hmm.
and it was translated by Kinyu, and the title is Sexual Freedom is Primary Freedom and Ultimate Freedom.
Yeah, it is a title that is basically engineered to make you stop in your tracks.
100%.
And, before we go any further, I think we really need to establish our mission for today's deep dive.
Yeah, lay the ground rules.
Right. Our goal here is to impartially map out the complex logic of this essay. We are not here to endorse the philosophy, and we're not here to condemn it either.
Exactly. We're just the messengers today.
Right. We are here to analyze a very specific, meticulously constructed worldview about, what it means to exist fully according to a creator's intent.
Which is fascinating.
It is. The ideas really challenge our baseline assumptions about biology, human rights, and spirituality. And honestly, the best way to understand them is to just dive straight into the philosophical deep end.
I love that. And the deep end starts with the concept we all kind of think we understand, right? Liberty.
Right, freedom.
Yeah, so Lifechanyuan builds this premise that freedom is the absolute, unquestionable, ultimate goal of life itself. Like the logic goes that our deepest psychological drivers are tied to this concept.
Yeah, he uses some pretty intense examples to back that up.
He does. Take the fear of hell, for instance. Why is hell the ultimate terror for people? Because it is the absolute zero of freedom.
Right, it's just complete eternal restriction.
Exactly. And then on the flip side, heaven represents total unbounded freedom. It's valued over any material possession, wealth, mansions, status.
It's the ultimate prize.
But, and here's where the hammer drops. After setting up freedom as the ultimate prize, the author firmly states that humans, in our current state, cannot actually achieve it.
Right, and to understand that barrier, we have to kind of look at the mechanics of human society.
Okay.
If we connect this to the bigger picture and define freedom as the ability to fully exert and display your own will,
Yeah.
we immediately run into a physics problem when we place 8 billion people on one planet.
I can see where this is going.
Right, if everyone operates with absolute unrestrained will, the result isn't a utopia of liberty, it's chaos. It's a state of constant collision.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I want to play devil's advocate and push back on the premise for a second.
Go for it.
If freedom is our ultimate biological and spiritual driver, why do we dedicate so much energy to building our own cages? I mean, we write thousands of pages of constitutions, laws, and societal contracts specifically designed to limit what we can do.
It does seem like a paradox at first glance.
Totally. But Sufeng uses an incredible analogy here involving the ocean. So imagine every human being is just a single drop of water in a vast ocean.
Right.
If I decide to fully exert my will and just crash right into you,
I don't get to stay still anymore.
exactly, I have just stolen your freedom to stay still. So my total freedom basically becomes your complete subjugation.
Which is exactly why those laws and constitutions aren't actually cages at all. At least not in the way we usually perceive them.
Okay, how so?
Well, the underlying logic here is that absolute freedom leads directly to absolute restraint, usually through, violence or domination by whoever happens to be the strongest.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the whole might makes right thing.
Precisely. Therefore, society creates boundaries not to destroy freedom, but to actually maximize the amount of it we can safely handle without destroying each other.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. We give up the freedom to harm, steal, or create chaos in public spaces specifically to preserve the baseline safety of all those other drops of water in the ocean.
Okay, I get that. We accept constraints to basically avoid mutually assured destruction. So, because of that, we are left with a very specific menu of what Shuefeng considers safe freedoms.
Yeah, the ones that won't crash the system.
Right. These are actions that have a very low potential for societal conflict. So we are talking about the freedom of imagination, the freedom of thought, the freedom of migration, the freedom to pursue a spiritual life, and sexual freedom.
And here is where the entire framework pivots.
It really does. Out of all those safe, relatively benign freedoms, this essay claims that sexual freedom is the absolute core. Like, it argues that without it, every other freedom you have, your freedom of thought, your freedom of migration, is completely illusory.
Just an ineffective, short-lived Band-Aid,
Yeah.
basically.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because that claim sounds wild. Could you explain this twist for us? Because I know it's a massive, almost absurd leap of logic if you're using the modern colloquial definition of that phrase.
It really is. But the master key to unlocking this entire philosophy lies in the translation. We are completely stepping away from the narrow, purely physical interpretation of sex. The essay actually anchors its entire definition in a quote from Master Bodhidharma's Bloodstream sermon.
Right, which is a classic Zen Buddhist text.
Exactly. And the quote simply states, "Nature is Buddha."
And the translator, Kinyu, points out a crucial linguistic overlap here, right?
Yeah, this is the pivotal detail. In Chinese, the word used for nature and the word for sex share the exact same linguistic space. They're the same character in this context.
That is wild. That completely changes everything about how we read the text.
It does. By linking nature to sex through that linguistic shared space, Shofeng redefines sexual freedom as the freedom of one's fundamental original nature.
Oh, okay.
The explicit definition given in the text is to be able to exist and live fully according to the creator's intention, or, the way of nature.
So it strips away all that political and social baggage we usually associate with the word liberty.
Exactly, and grounds freedom entirely in our biological and spiritual blueprint.
Okay, wait, so let me test the boundaries of this blueprint. If I just use my eyes to look at a beautiful landscape, Sufeng would argue, I am exercising this freedom of nature.
Yes, because the creator's intention for eyes is to see.
Okay, so if an external force like a government, a society, a rule forbids me from looking, they aren't just giving me a legal restriction, they are actively amputating my fundamental nature.
Right. They're going against your blueprint.
Or, like, take singing. If my vocal cords are designed to produce melody and I feel the natural urge to sing, but a law prohibits it, I am being spiritually suppressed.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is how that reframes our most basic everyday actions.
It really makes you think about daily life differently.
It does. Every time you utilize a faculty for its intended natural purpose, you are basically engaging in an act of divine freedom. It elevates the mundane to the spiritual.
Right.
But the essay doesn't shy away from the more controversial applications of this logic either.
No, it definitely does not.
It takes this exact same framework, the eyes are for seeing, the voice is for singing, and applies it directly to human anatomy, specifically reproductive organs.
Yeah, and this is where we hit the societal taboo head on.
Mm-hmm.
The argument in the text is that reproductive organs aren't just biological machinery for procreation or excretion.
Right.
They are explicitly designed by nature for the enjoyment of pleasure. So, following the logic of the eyes and the vocal cords, restricting that natural enjoyment is an identical violation.
It is a restriction of the human blueprint itself.
But obviously, society has massive pushback against this idea. When people hear a call for unrestricted sexual freedom, the immediate association is usually like total societal collapse.
Oh, yeah. Debauchery, broken families, the spread of disease, just complete chaos.
Right. So if people blame sexual freedom for societal ills, how does the author counter that?
Well, Shufeng anticipates that exact backlash and categorizes those specific fears as the imaginings of the savage and foolish.
Those are strong words.
They are. The philosophy draws a very sharp line between base animal instinct and what it calls artistic blooming.
Artistic blooming. I like that phrase.
Yeah. True freedom of nature is presented as an elevated, highly civilized state of being. It's not the behavior of scrambling barbarians acting purely on impulse. It is supposed to be a sophisticated harmony with one's own design.
Okay, but how do you reconcile this artistic blooming with the very real physical and societal risks? Because, diseases are real. The emotional fallout of broken families is real.
Right. Those are completely valid concerns.
And Suofeng offers two specific real-world analogies to defend this philosophy against those critics, and they are honestly fascinating. The first one tackles the disease argument directly.
Yeah, the food analogy.
Right. Blaming sexual freedom for the spread of disease is compared to blaming food for causing illness.
Which makes a lot of sense if you think about the mechanics of that analogy. Food is a fundamental requirement for survival. The act of eating is perfectly aligned with our biological nature.
We have to eat.
But can you get food poisoning? Yes. Can improperly handled food cause a deadly outbreak? Absolutely.
Right.
But society does not respond to a salmonella outbreak by declaring that the act of eating is inherently evil or that food itself should be heavily restricted or banned.
No, that would be ridiculous. We recognize that the negative outcome is a byproduct of how the fundamental nature was engaged with, not a flaw in the nature itself.
Right.
We don't condemn the function, we just try to improve the safety.
Exactly.
And the second analogy is even more extreme, tackling the fear of catastrophic societal breakdown. The essay argues that banning this freedom of nature because of the potential risks is like grounding all air travel permanently just because one airplane crashed.
Right. And an airplane crash is an undeniable tragedy. It's a known statistical risk of aviation.
Yeah.
But as a society, we have collectively decided that the utility, the connection, and just the sheer elevation that flight provides are so valuable that we refuse to ground the entire industry over those risks.
We accept the risk because the reward is too great.
Exactly. And Shoekin applies that exact same risk assessment logic to our spiritual and biological nature. The artistic blooming of the human spirit is seen as so essential to our existence that attempting to ban it out of fear is an overcorrection.
An overcorrection that basically destroys the very point of being alive.
Exactly.
Which brings us back to that bold claim early in the essay. Until you secure this primary freedom of your own nature, every other freedom is just empty talk.
Yeah, just window dressing.
Right, you can have freedom of speech, but if you are alienated from your own physical and spiritual blueprint, you are still in a cage. It sounds incredibly empowering, right?
It does. It has a very appealing ring to it.
It essentially says, embrace your design, enjoy your artistic blooming, and you will unlock ultimate liberty.
Yeah.
But this is where the essay pulls the rug out from under us.
Yeah, big time.
Because just when you think you understand the assignment, we are introduced to the evolutionary ladder. And the requirements to actually achieve this state become completely overwhelming.
Right. We suddenly shift from a discussion about physical biology into a deeply rigid spiritual hierarchy. The fundamental rule of this ladder is that your degree of freedom is intrinsically, permanently linked to the quality of your life form.
Meaning?
Meaning, as you move up the ladder, your capacity for freedom expands.
Okay, let's map that ladder out, because it is crucial to the ultimate paradox of this deep dive. At the base, you have plants.
Right.
A plant has life, but it's rooted to one spot. Its freedom is incredibly low.
Yeah.
Above, plants are animals. They can move, they can hunt, they can react. They have a higher quality of life and therefore a wider degree of freedom.
Makes sense.
Above animals are humans. We can shape our environment, build cities, imagine the future. Our freedom is vastly greater than the tiger or the oak tree, but we are not the top of the ladder.
Not even close.
Right. Above humans are celestials and Buddhas who possess even greater freedom, completely unconstrained by the heavy physical limits we deal with. And above them are gods, whose freedom is virtually absolute.
But here is the catch for you, the listener, sitting on the human rung of this ladder right now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's about how you actually gain access to the ultimate freedom of nature we've been discussing. You cannot simply decide to start acting on your impulses tomorrow and claim you are artistically blooming.
Right, there's a prerequisite.
A huge one. According to Schriffing, to even be capable of enjoying this freedom without causing the chaos and destruction we talked about earlier, you must perfect something called your soul garden.
The soul garden. I mean, it is a beautiful metaphor, but the required maintenance sounds intense. The essay lists very specific virtues that must be cultivated. Sincerity, kindness, beauty, love, faith, and honesty.
And you have to possess all of them. Flawlessly.
Which completely dismantles the critics who claim this philosophy is just an excuse for selfishness or debauchery.
Exactly. Those 6 virtues act as an absolute philosophical safeguard. Let's look at the mechanism of how that works. If someone decides to express their nature through deceit, manipulation, or cruelty to a partner, they might claim they are exercising sexual freedom.
Right.
But under this framework, because they lack honesty and kindness, their soul garden is barren. Therefore, what they're experiencing isn't the divine freedom of nature at all, it's just the scrambling barbarian instinct.
Oh, wow. So true freedom requires absolute spiritual perfection, because only a perfected soul can exercise total freedom without harming the other drops of water in the ocean.
Right. It's a brilliant fail-safe. You're only allowed to take off the training wheels once you've proven you won't crash the bike into a crowd of people.
Okay, but this brings up a massive, unavoidable question. So what does this all mean? Let's say someone actually does it.
Okay.
Let's say you spend your life perfectly cultivating sincerity, kindness, beauty, love, faith, and honesty. You align your actions flawlessly with the Creator's intention. You fully express your fundamental nature without infringing on a single other soul. What actually happens to you?
This raises an important question, and it leads us to the ultimate brilliant paradox of Sui Feng's essay. The conclusion is stark. Human beings, by virtue of our specific species quality, cannot actually enjoy complete sexual freedom.
Wait, really?
Really, our physical limitations, our societal structures, the very fact that we are confined to these bodies on this planet makes it biologically and philosophically impossible to achieve that perfect state of unrestricted nature while remaining human.
That is wild. The text actually literally congratulates the reader if they manage to pull it off, stating, if anyone can truly enjoy sexual freedom, congratulations, you are no longer a human being.
Exactly. By perfecting the soul garden and flawlessly aligning with your fundamental nature, you basically generate enough spiritual escape velocity to leave a human condition entirely.
You mutate, you elevate.
You climb from the human rung of that evolutionary ladder up to the celestial rung. The ultimate freedom we all inherently crave cannot be found within the boundaries of human society. It's the reward for evolving beyond it.
Man, what a journey. We started this deep dive talking about the visceral, relatable fear of being locked in a hellish cage, and we ended up dissecting the mechanism of a soul garden that literally evolves you into a celestial entity.
It's a lot to process.
It really is. It forces a complete reevaluation of every single constraint in our lives. It makes you wonder, when you listen to a piece of music that moves you, or when you connect deeply with another person, are you just passing time, or are you actively exercising a tiny, potent fragment of divine freedom?
Right.
This essay demands that we question whether our daily existence is actually aligned with our fundamental blueprint, or if we're just birds sitting silently in a cage, completely forgetting what vocal cords are for.
It demands profound self-reflection. And as we conclude our mapping of this text, there is one final, lingering implication. I want you, the listener, to mull over on your own.
Oh, I'm ready.
We established earlier that human laws and societal restraints are the dams that keep the ocean drops from destroying each other. But we also established that achieving perfect, unrestrained nature elevates you entirely beyond humanity. So are the daily societal rules we blindly follow secretly acting as a ceiling, preventing us from reaching that next vital level of spiritual evolution?
Oh, wow.
Or, conversely, are those very rules and restraints the exact friction we need, the essential training wheels to teach us how to cultivate our soul gardens in the first place?
Are the laws keeping us human, or are they teaching us how to be gods? That is an incredible thought to carry with you today. Thank you so much for joining us at the table to explore the deep, fascinating waters of human nature and ultimate liberty. Keep questioning the invisible structures around you, keep tending to your own soul garden, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.